My grandmother was an extraordinary cook. I want to start there because this story is really about her, even though she passed away 6 years ago. She came to this country in her 30s with very little and built a life through, among other things, her cooking. She fed people. She fed her children and her neighbors and anyone who came through her door. Her kitchen was the center of everything, and what came out of it, the specific dishes she had learned from her own mother, adapted and refined over decades, were part of our family's identity in a way that is difficult to explain to people who didn't grow up in it. My Aunt Rosaria is my grandmother's oldest daughter. She is 70 now. She is a formidable woman in the way that some women of her generation are formidable. She commands rooms, she speaks with authority, she is never uncertain about anything in her own presence, even if she is uncertain underneath. For as long as I can remember, Aunt Rosaria has been known in our extended family as the keeper of my grandmother's recipes. If anyone wanted to know how to make a particular dish, they asked Rosaria. At every family gathering, her contributions were received with the specific reverence given to custodians of tradition. When food magazines interviewed her twice over the years about traditional recipes, she accepted the credit gracefully. What I knew, and what I had known for years, was that Rosaria did not actually have my grandmother's recipes. My grandmother had. My grandmother gave her recipe book to my mother before she died. Not to Rosaria, to my mother, her second daughter, because my mother was the one who had spent the most time in the kitchen with her, the one who had actually learned the techniques, the one who made the food the way my grandmother made it. The book was handwritten, stained, falling apart at the binding. It was extraordinary. Rosaria knew this. When my grandmother died, Rosaria asked my mother for the book. My mother said no. They did not speak for 2 years. In the years that followed, my mother made the dishes quietly, at our family gatherings, without much ceremony. Rosaria continued to receive credit she had not earned from the branches of the family who didn't know the full history. My mother did not correct this. She said it was not worth the conflict. Last November, we had a large family dinner. 14 people, 3 generations, the kind of gathering that happens once or twice a year. Rosaria was holding court about a particular dish, explaining to my younger cousins how her mother had taught her to make it, describing the technique in confident detail. The technique she was describing was wrong. I know because I learned the real technique from my mother, who learned it from my grandmother directly. What Rosaria was describing would not produce the result she was claiming it would. I knew this with certainty. I looked at my mother. She was looking at her plate. I said calmly and without raising my voice that I thought the technique was a little different, that my mother had shown me how my grandmother actually made it, and that the process was not quite what Rosaria was describing. The table went quiet. Rosaria looked at me with an expression I will not forget. Then she said, very measured, that she had learned this recipe directly from her mother and was confident in what she was saying. I said that the recipe book was actually at my parents' house, in my grandmother's own handwriting, and that the process was documented there. I should tell you that I had not planned this. I had not arrived at that dinner intending to expose anything. I had watched my mother look at her plate, and something in me had simply decided it was enough. The dinner did not recover easily. Rosaria was quiet for the remainder of the evening. 2 of my cousins asked my mother about the recipe book afterward, genuinely curious, not hostile. My mother showed it to them. They were visibly moved by it. My uncle called me the following week and said I had humiliated his wife in front of the family. My mother told me privately that she was glad it had happened, but that she was also worried about what it had cost. My father said I should have talked to my mother first before saying anything. I keep asking myself whether the right response to a long injustice is to correct it when the opportunity arises, or to stay quiet out of respect for family peace. I chose to correct it. I am not entirely certain I was right to do it the way I did. Was I the asshole? Tell me what you think. Drop it in the comments. And subscribe. New story every week.